My guest today is Guillermo Bellman. Guillermo, how are you?
Hi, David.
I'm doing really well. This is the second time I've interviewed you, and
yes.
I'm trying to figure out who I can blame for the fact that the audio was bad in the first one, but I'm left with blaming myself. User error.
Don't worry, it's great to be here again.
We were in a different hemisphere. We were in
yeah,
Montevideo, Uruguay, and here we are in Redmond. And
yes,
I'm happy to see you again.
It's awesome to meet you again.
What were we talking about again before we were?
Well, we were talking about Service Fabric and microservices.
Okay. Tell me about. So let's define terms first of all. So microservices.
Yes.
You hear that a lot. That phrase a lot.
But,
I'm not sure all of us know what it means.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, along with serverless and big data and all these big terms now.
They're just buzzwords, I think.
Oh yeah. So microservices is a new way of thinking your application architecture, in which you separate all your monolith application into smaller services that just are dedicated to doing just one thing and doing that good. So you can then scale them independently or build them in different languages. For example, you can do something in C#, something in Java, something in C++ if you need to.
It gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of development and scalability. And also, I would say it reduces complexity.
It reduces.
That's the way I've been designing my applications for years. Lots of small.
It's easier to
components.
maintain because they are so small.
Yeah,
you just have
easier to test.
Yeah, easier to test. But it also adds some complexity because you now have lots of smaller services instead of just one app.
So you have to coordinate those in some way.
You have to coordinate, But, things like Service Fabric make things easier for you in that way.
Let's dive into Service Fabric. That's part of Azure, is that right?
That's part of Azure, but you can run it on-premise too, or in any other cloud. So if you happen to go to Amazon Web Services, you can run Service Fabric there too.
Interesting. Is that
You'll have to manage.
Is it Microsoft Service Fabric running, or do they have their own Service Fabric?
No, it's a Microsoft Service Fabric. So you run the bits, but you'll have to take care of all the hardware that you're running on. So if you run it on Azure, all the hardware is managed by Microsoft. So you get that. So it's easier to run it on Azure, but you can run it on your own if you want to.
Okay, and what does Service Fabric do for me?
So it will take care of all the orchestration, all the DNS stuff, so locating services inside the cluster, scaling up and down, in and out. So that is all taken care of. Health status for all your services and for your cluster, for
It'll monitor it and tell you when there's a problem?
Monitoring is already there. So everything is running on that piece of software that Microsoft built. And Microsoft itself runs most of Azure services on top of it.
So
this was born
Azure knows when a part of Azure is down.
Yeah, so this was born when making SQL database happen. So SQL database runs on top of Service Fabric.
Interesting.
So Cosmos DB runs on top of Service Fabric. So this is well tested, reliable, and everybody can jump in and build services there.
What do I do? How do I actually use Service Fabric in my applications?
So you have different options. One thing you can do is you take your existing app there. So you have an executable there or a batch or something, and you just package this and you deploy it there. So you need to do the packaging.
So packaging it in a way that Service Fabric understands it? Is that what you mean?
Yes. So that Service Fabric understands what your application is and how to execute it, and then you just deploy it there, and Service Fabric will take care of the rest.
Is there a special tool for doing that?
You can do that from Visual Studio.
Okay.
Yeah. Visual Studio 2017 has all the tools when you install the Azure stuff.
All right.
You have everything there for Service Fabric.
Is it a matter of setting the properties of a project to say this is a Service Fabric enabled project, is it?
Exactly.
Okay.
And one other thing you can do is you can build Service Fabric services that you do with the SDK. You have a programming platform there for building services.
Oh, okay.
So stateless services like in the API or stateful services, like for example Cosmos DB is a stateful service.
Okay.
You store data in the service.
Yep.
And you can go that way, or you can also use containers. You can use Windows containers or Docker containers. So Service Fabric also runs on Windows and Linux machines. So
Interesting.
you can do almost anything you want.
You mentioned scaling earlier. Is that that Service Fabric just takes care of that? Is that
Yes.
it automatically will scale your application?
Yeah, you can do Autoscale. Like,
How does it know when to scale the application?
well, you have two things you can scale in a Service Fabric cluster. So, like, everybody is used to having services that are really attached to the VM they're running on.
Okay.
So, like cloud services, web apps, and all that.
Okay.
Your code goes to a VM. When you scale, you copy your same code in a different VM, and everything is the same.
Right.
Here, you have two ways of scaling. You can scale services, so service instances inside the same hardware, or you can scale the hardware. So you can put more machines
Okay.
if you need to. So you usually use app parameters like HTTP queue length
Okay.
to scale your service, your instances of your
Okay,
servers
so if the
inside
queue
the
length
cluster.
becomes too small, then or too large. I'm sorry.
Too large, yeah.
Then you say, we got
Give
some
me more
bottleneck-
instances
we've got a
of this.
bottleneck here. Let's add another instance of the server.
Exactly.
You would configure that to say what too large means. It's
Yeah.
some number.
But inside the same amount of VMs running on the cluster. But if, for example, you're running out of CPU,
Right.
you're over 80% of CPU
Okay.
all the time, you can tell the cluster to scale.
Okay. Now I have that already in app services.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
I can just set say 80% over. I think it says if it's more than 3 minutes or whatever the default.
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
Then it auto scales for me.
Exactly. You can do both things here. You can
Okay.
use application things
Okay.
to scale your applications, and you can do more hardware metrics like CPU, RAM usage, and all that
I see.
to
Okay.
scale the cluster all your applications and services are running on top of.
Okay, and this is adds value, I think, if you're not running app services, if you're building things inside of containers or inside of
Exactly.
a virtual machine.
Exactly.
Adds that.
You can
Okay.
you can scale the amount of containers you're running on your hardware and really be really use your hardware and to
Right.
the limits.
Yeah.
So
Is now are you using this in your day job? Are you using this for your customers
Yes.
in your company? What is
Yeah,
your
yeah.
day job?
well, I'm currently working on a project with Microsoft actually. So we're doing some using AI to improve business processes in Microsoft. So we're using Service Fabric both in Windows and Linux.
Can you give me an example? Is that how you're using it?
Oh yeah, so we're using the Linux service cluster to run all the AI models,
Okay.
which are built in Python.
Okay.
That's why they are run on Linux.
Are
And
you
we're,
using something like CNTK or TensorFlow to do this?
no, not yet.
Okay.
No, it's all custom built.
Got it.
And we're using another service fabric cluster, which is in Windows, to run the API and then moving things from Cosmos DB to SQL and all that, and
Okay.
reprojecting data and doing analysis on top of that. Which is
And
Cool.
you're using this the service fabric essentially to handle the scalability or the
Yes.
monitoring or
that's right. We're
Okay.
handling scalability there.
excellent. People want to learn more about Service Fabric. Where should they go?
Oh, they should go to the docs, Azure docs,
Mhm.
which have lots of samples there.
Uh-huh.
So you can learn from scratch, or if you're experienced, you can pick one of the more advanced tutorials and learn from there.
Do you have an online presence where you're writing or talking about this?
Oh, yes. I have a blog. So it's blog.gbellman.technology. You can make sure you have that on the notes.
We'll put that in the notes, yeah.
Yep.
We'll put it right here, actually.
All right. Awesome.
Anything we haven't talked about that we should have?
Oh, I think we covered most of it.
All right.
So
Guillermo, thank you so much.
thank you, David. The thing I like the most about the technology conferences is to come here and meet new friends and meet with all friends from all around the world.